This is going to be an embarrassing video. Hello, I'm sitting in my brother's childhood bedroom because I like the way that the sunlight is streaming in the window, and I'm here to talk about how my experience has been being off social media so far. And you know, the first thing you discover when you get off social media is that it's actually not black and white like that. It's actually levels, and you deepen into like from, you know, okay, I'm not using Instagram and Twitter and TikTok anymore, to okay, I see where I'm being distracted in my life from the things that matter to me, and slowly over time I'm letting go of more and more of them, with, of course, a lot of fallbacks, right? Of like, you fall backward into what you're trying to give up. So I said this is gonna be an embarrassing video because I have to admit that this morning, no, I think it was last night before I went to bed, I was literally on Venmo stalking people. I was like scrolling through the Venmo feed, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. This person's in Hawaii. Oh, that's interesting. You know, oh, they seem to have a lot of Venmo transactions between them. I wonder if they're friends or more. And it's just like, it feels cool because starting to be more intentional about this stuff forces you to kind of look at yourself when you do things like that and be like, so what is that giving me? Because it's giving you something, otherwise you wouldn't do it. And it feels like it gives you a sense of what is going on that's interesting, that like is diverting, that like helps you get this feeling. I don't even know, it's not a calm feeling, but you think it'll make you feel calm when you like know what's going on. You know? It's like, I don't want to not know something that's going on and then be blindsided by it, and then everyone else knew for a long time about that. You know? It's like this basic human urge not to feel disconnected from community, except social media has done this really incredible thing where it's created a new meaning of the word community and a new type of community, quote unquote, that we now kind of just accept. And I was thinking back to how I started out on social media and what got me into it, because to be honest, like once you get off social media, you'll kind of realize like how it's kind of like none of us would have gotten on it in the first place, really, if it had been like this at the beginning. And I know that's a big claim, but I think it speaks to, you know, how much social media has actually influenced us and changed our brains, that isn't immediately true to most people, but it is immediately true to most of the people who are off social media or have never been on social media. It's like, why would I do that? I don't need to. But it's redefined meaning for a lot of us, the meaning of like what community is like and what what we need to know and what we don't need to know. It's pretty wild. But I think back to how I got started on social media, and I remember I want to talk about Tumblr, Twitter, and Instagram. And I got on, gosh, I remember Twitter very clearly because I remember it was this brand new platform and none of my friends were really on it, maybe one or two, right? So I could get on there, and I was in college. I was feeling like a little bit lonely, or I had friends, but I didn't feel like I could share certain parts of myself with them. I felt like I had this personality with the people that I knew already. And somehow, without consciously realizing it, what I did, like, I got on Twitter and I just started to like be stupid as hell, like funny, like just say stuff that was hilarious to me. And I would just like crack myself up. And the idea is that like anyone can see it, and that's so funny because no one has to see it, but it's just out there. And I just loved that concept. And it was similar with Tumblr. But Tumblr, I went for a whole different aspect of personality. I think I really, at first, used those two platforms to kind of, and Instagram, all of the social media platforms to really like understand more like different pieces of myself, or like express different parts of myself. And Tumblr, gosh, I wish I could give you some specific examples. It was just so stupid the way that I used Twitter. Oh my God. I don't know. I was just like talking about my classes and I don't know, saying very existential stuff, but like in a stupid, funny way. So with Tumblr, it was a lot of like more heartfelt, like essay type stuff, like writing that I've always written, and I needed an outlet for it. And so it was a lot of like, here's how I'm honestly feeling about this thing. I also use my Tumblr a lot. I left college for a year and a half to go live on a farm and understand more of life than you can get in an academic freaking building where you're learning about things but you're not doing things. At least that's how it was for me. So I spent a while on a farm, and I was like sharing on Tumblr about that experience because it was so new and it was so real in a way that so much had not been real. And I was so far away from everyone that I knew, and not very many people followed me on Tumblr that I knew, or at all. But it was just really cool because I felt like I could share a journal online of what was going on and just be very real. And I didn't feel like I could be real with the people that I knew, like they would enjoy that or accept that. And maybe that goes to show that I kind of had some superficial friendships, or was also just showing up and not in the most authentic way for various reasons. You just want to belong, you know? And you know, being 18 or 19, like, you don't know. I mean, I didn't have a sense of self yet that was developed. I had a very like strict upbringing, and I didn't get to make that many decisions of my own. And I think that's a big part of how you figure out who you are, is like making decisions and figuring out like, what do I want here? What do I want to do here? Like, what do I like? What do I dislike? And I didn't have a ton of opportunity to do that. So I just had very little sense of self. So these social media were just very cool for exploring that. And honestly, my first Instagram too was, it was like exploring a different part of myself. I'll get to Facebook in a second also. I want to address that one. But it was really like artsy was how I used Instagram at first. It was like these photographs that I took that I was just like, I took this photograph of a mouse in the street in San Francisco, and I just like fell in love with it. It was like in a crack in the sidewalk with these like little weeds sprouting out, and the mouse was like poking out from between the weeds, and it was so cute. It was like the photo, I just loved the photo quality. And so I was like putting photos like that and like beautiful landscapes in San Francisco, and I guess it was like 2015, 2016, up with like, I think I got on Instagram late, you know, because I was never really that drawn to it. and I didn't have that many of my friends following me on there, but I just would put like quotes that were really meaningful to me along with the photos that felt really like together. It helped you grasp a little bit more of life and feeling and meaning and like poeticness. And I've always been very drawn to like the human condition and understanding that at a deeper level. I was a philosophy major, so that was what I initially used all of those platforms for. And I think Facebook was because I wanted to see another side of the people that I knew, for sure. I don't think it was that I really necessarily wanted to post a ton of my stuff, because I think I had like a lot of shame around how I lived. Like, I was very, like, in high school, I was very much not doing the things that I wanted to do. Like, I would have wanted to like hang out with my friends a lot more and stuff, but I was really in-house studying or like on math teams and stuff that I was just following directions pretty much for my whole childhood. So I didn't really feel attached. I felt kind of dissociated from everything that I was doing. So I didn't necessarily feel like excited to share with people, but it was really interesting. Like, I wanted to see what I did want. I wanted to learn what I did want. And I felt like some other people in my school, like the different ways that they lived were so mysterious to me. And it was cool to like see more of that. And that was the place where it was like just your group, of like the people that you've known in school and whatever. But then it's kind of weird because there's this moment where all of a sudden something changes and you get like this one person or this one group of people to follow you. And all of a sudden, it's not just about exploring, it's about getting their eyes on you. Like, you want their validation, and all of a sudden something shifts a little bit. And you get on it a little bit more often. Not all the time. Like, at the beginning, social media was definitely not all the time. But you want to display yourself in ways that, like, that group of people, it's kind of on your mind, will, like, pay attention to it. And this isn't true of everybody. I think it's true of a lot of us who have been on social media, that there's someone that we have in mind when we're posting, and there's something that we want our posts to look like in order to capture their attention, admiration, respect, jealousy, whatever. Positive affect toward us, and like them, theoretically, if you ever met in real life, they would want to interact with you, right? They think of you in a positive way and not just, oh, they're lame and boring. So it was kind of wild how easy it was for that to kind of take hold in me, especially because I didn't really have that developed of a sense of self, and I really wanted to explore who I was. And so the crazy thing about that is it'll take you down left field. Like, it'll really shift you away from who you actually, just from the truth, what's actually in you, which is always going to be there, no matter how far away you get from it trying to meet somebody else's standard. It's just always there waiting for you to come back to it, and you're never going to feel very good until you feel able to show up more in your truth. So I think that's a big part of how social media has impacted my life, especially from like 2020, when like I wasn't going out. Like, I had made a lot more friends once I moved to San Francisco, and like I've hung out with a lot of different groups of people and joined this political organization, and I had a lot of goals I was working toward. Still really insecure for sure, still learning who I was, and like still getting, like, even without social media, we get sidelined by what people think of us, and really wanting to measure up to that. And I think workplaces can kind of do that to us sometimes, and sometimes purposefully. They're like, don't you want to be the kind of person who blah blah blah, then show up and like work really hard here and prove yourself and blah blah blah. So we can get taken in by that in many ways. But the key thing about social media is that it's coming into your private moments too, to where it's like before bed, when you're like scrolling, seeing other people's lives, wanting to like share stuff about yourself that gets attention. It's really interesting, because the number of hours that you spend on social media, like the number of hours that I've spent on social media, just trying to, even taking in content that's like trying to teach me how to be better in order to get people's eyes. And it's not just in order to get people's eyes. It's human nature. It's not a bad thing to want belonging. Like, that's the key need that's driving a lot of social media. A lot of people who are trying to produce something valuable content, a lot of people who are, commenting, a lot of people who are posting their own pics of like this vacation, or like fun XOXO, I love life. Like, oh man, like I had a rough day. Here's like me being real on social media. Like, it's not a bad thing to want to connect and to want to belong. The thing is that social media sometimes can block us from belonging to ourselves. And it can block us from true belonging when we get sidelined in those ways. So that's just one of the ways that I've been sidelined by social media. I definitely have a couple other aspects of how social media like kind of has changed my brain over the last 4 years to share. But for now, like where I'm at right now, so I've pretty much like got off. I mean, my Instagram is scheduled for deletion and I'm off Facebook, which is gonna suck not being able to use Facebook Marketplace, but I sort of don't care at this point, like, because I'm just excited to not be on it. And like I said, I did Venmo stalk some people, and like I could still feel the craving to like know what people are doing, because I want to use that to guide what I do. But it's really interesting, like now that I'm 32, I know myself a lot better. Still not as much as I want to know myself, but I know my major goals and desires. And like one of the biggest, the biggest one is just to one of the two biggest ones is just to be real with myself and with other people. The other one's to like be present in the moment, like a lot more than I have been. But one of the things that really supports me in being real and getting what I need in order to be able to be vulnerable with people is being away from what kind of is there in many ways to make me feel like there's specific ways to belong and I need to fit into those ways. I mean, if you think about it, the reason social media has flourished so much is because of advertising. Why has money been poured into Facebook, into Instagram, into Twitter? Like, why have those platforms become so big? The reason is that a lot of money has been pumped in, invested into them to make sure that they can get your attention. And the reason that a lot of money has been invested to make sure that they are good at getting your attention is that, those are advertisers. Like, it will make them a shit ton of money to have your eyes on their ads. And then, you know, content creators want you to pay attention to their stuff. So it's all just like whatever is going to make you pay attention, and insecurity is a huge piece of that. It's like, listen, if you have this problem, you need to solve it. And here's how. And it's like, well, I don't need to solve every problem at once. And why is it even a problem if I'm not the best in the world at XYZ? Or if I have, you know, trouble doing this thing over here? Like, is that really a priority to me? And it's crazy because when you get quiet with yourself, you're like, oh, I know what my priorities are. Because they're coming up. They're like the things I keep getting angry about, and the things that keep pissing me off and making me feel powerless. Because I'm not going after those things because I'm on social media. So it's kind of crazy. I've gotten back on Tumblr. Like I was off it for forever, and I just got back on it. I know this is a post about leaving social media, but it's interesting because when I realized that like it was really a way to explore, like expressing myself, I wanted to get back on it because I don't know anyone on there, and it is fun to just share like my little banana bread, or what did I make? Baked oats like recipe and how it turned out, and like just know that like no one really follows me. I get like one repost or whatever every once in a while, which, you know, that is a risk. Like you can definitely be like, ooh, how can I post more to get more reposts? But like in the end, it's really just for me to just just express myself, and then I can look back at it and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so cute. But we'll see about that. So it's sort of like alternate ways to get some of what I was getting out of the social media that was taking up 5 and 6 hours of my time, and instead kind of share on social media that doesn't, you know, it's just for me to kind of create and share on. And same with YouTube, you know. It's a place that, and it's also a place that's a lot slower paced. I don't like YouTube shorts, but you know, these long form videos, they're really kind of a way to sort of hear what people really think and learn, and I don't know, feel connected in that way. And so I love those connection points, but I love having the more of the will, like the ability to have a boundary there and say like, no, I'm not gonna subject myself to like fast-paced stuff. I'm not gonna subject myself to all of these ads. I actually went in on YouTube Premium. I don't have any ads. I am not gonna subject myself to like things that I don't want to be subjected to. And how can I do that a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better? And maybe at some point that'll mean being off of all social media. Maybe when I read a book, I'll just like, maybe I'll write an essay about it and put it, you know, I don't know, put it somewhere. You know, maybe I can like post videos about things but not engage in, that's the thing. Like, it feels good to engage with people, to watch other people's stuff. But to me, what really matters right now, at least, is in the form of videos where people are being real and truthful. And honestly, I love reading essays and the news in certain forms, like well-digested news. I don't like breaking news. I just subscribe to The Economist because they do this weekly analysis, but they really are very data heavy and very like trying to understand the situation at like this level that goes just a layer deeper than the like flashy, oh, here's what's gonna catch people's eye The economist isn't trying to catch people's eye. They're trying to help business leaders make business decisions. So they have to be telling the truth, because if they're not, then it's gonna like screw business leaders over, because they're gonna make the wrong decisions about stuff because of their like, you know, like biases. So that's why The Economist I find kind of cool so far, although we'll see how long it lasts. But it's about taking in information in the ways that feel like really good and that make you feel, for me, the one of the biggest differences that I feel is just the clarity in my brain. Like there's just so much more emptiness, and then it's not so full, and then the emptiness fills up with like actually being able to take things in that I wouldn't have before. Like little things, like I'm looking out my brother's window right now and like the clouds. I don't know, I think I'm like obsessed with clouds, but I didn't really think about it that much. And I just love, like I could just stare at the clouds for a long time and just be like extremely happy. Like really happy, just like existing and staring at the clouds. Like I'm with getting through my withdrawals from the validation addiction that social media puts on you. It's like, oh, I can't just live. I need to live and like be seen, or live and like make a big difference, or like live and like do something impactful. Otherwise, like, you know, I can't just like be. And it's like, well, yeah, you are doing things that are impactful by like being with yourself, by going out into your community. I'm doing like an improv class on Monday, so we'll see how that goes. I love funny things. And yeah, you are making an impact, and you never know where your life is gonna go. You can't really control it. You can't like, you can want to have an impact in big ways, and I feel like I have wanted to have an impact in big ways. I really wanted to do a lot to end homelessness in San Francisco, and I did work on that for a while, and it was amazing. It was really amazing. But you also, I don't know, you can do things that matter to you and make an impact in ways like that, where you're putting yourself into it instead of trying to be seen doing things that are more superficial, and make an impact on people in ways that kind of the best you wouldn't really want to or care about doing. Like the right people are gonna care about you. The right people are gonna care about you, you know? Like you don't have to post pretty pictures for the right people to care about you and to get what's yours, to get what belongs to you. What you have to give up in order to get a lot of the things that come with massive amounts of validation. It's just too much. It's so important to be able to be yourself and be with yourself and acknowledge the truth of yourself. It'll just make your brain, your body, you'll feel so clear. Not that I feel clear all the time, but I definitely feel better just being real. All right, I'll end it there. See you next time.